Okay, evening everyone. Welcome to a new episode. We're still talking about classroom management. And in this episode, I'll be covering noise in a classroom. Okay, so we'll be answering some interesting questions today. So let's just start with the first one. And question number one is, should classrooms be quiet? And the answer is, of course not. Because again, we're English language teachers, and language is a means of communication. We communicate using language. So how come an English classroom should be quiet? Because again, we expect students in the classroom to talk. They need to talk together. So the answer is absolutely not. And we want English classes to be noisy. So that takes us to what we call positive noise in the classroom. Classrooms should be noisy, especially English language classrooms. And the positive noise, when we say positive noise, we're talking about students helping one another. This is positive. We want students to work together. And if they're going to work together, they will have to speak and they will help each other. But this is positive. And again, students learn from one another, not only from the teacher. So that's positive. Also, students will be checking answers in pairs and groups, which will make the teacher's job easier. Because when the students speak together, yes, it is noisy, but positive noise because, number one, they're using English. And this is what you're here for. You're an English teacher. You want your students to practice English in the classroom. Here you are. They're speaking together. So why should you be unhappy about this? Right? So again, first, they're using language in the classroom, they're using English, which is nice, and they're making your job easier because again, when you come to the plenary and you give them feedback, they will be asking you about the most difficult points. You wouldn't have to go through everything because most of the time they discuss things together and they helped each other. Also, when they're speaking together, it's a safe environment. It's always better than speaking to the teacher in front of everyone else. But when they're working in pairs, this is safe because nobody would embarrass them. They don't expect embarrassment in front of others because it's so safe. So again, that's positive noise. Another form of positive noise is students doing a speaking task. And again, I mean, what English language classroom would be without a speaking task? Students need to speak, right? Because speaking is one of the 4 skills of English language, and it needs a space in the classroom. And we believe in communicative teaching. We believe that we teach English language so that people can communicate, students can communicate. So again, speaking is part of the English classroom. And that answers the previous question. Should English classrooms be quiet? And the answer is, of course not. And one last point here is about brainstorming ideas. Again, students, imagine that you're teaching a writing lesson and students need ideas to write. Well, they brainstorm together, they talk, they work in groups, they help each other, and they speak. So again, quiet classrooms are not okay. And this leads us to this point here, or this question: what does a quiet classroom mean? Well, it means a lot, but very negative things. So let's have a look at this. Only teacher-centered strategies. Because again, if your classroom is quiet, it means that you're the only one speaking, which means that you're the one doing everything. And this is something that we don't want. We don't want the teacher to be the one doing everything. We want students to be given good opportunities to do things themselves. So yes, the teacher will give some input, but we expect output from students. Because again, as we know, we can see teaching, but we can't see learning. The only way through which we can see learning is through a task that students can do. So if students speak, that says something about your teaching. It says that they've learned something. So again, only teacher-centered strategies, not a very nice thing. Boredom, right. I mean, And I don't know how many people went through the same kind of education I went through before, but my classes were very teacher-centered when I was especially at secondary school, also pretty much when I was a university student. And I was bored to death because only the teacher, only the professor, only the instructor had, the right to speak, and we were silent most of the time. And that was really boring. I mean, imagine this. Staying for 1 hour listening for one man speaking. It was a one-man show. I didn't like it. So again, quiet classrooms are boring classroom. And it's a big sin for an English teacher to be boring in the classroom. Also, there is a completely missing skill in there. Well, if your classroom is quiet, it means that students are not speaking. And it means that they're not practicing one of the 4 skills of English language. So how can this be good anyway? So again, when we move to the question, what does a quiet classroom mean? We would say a teacher who will probably have a sore throat. Oh yeah, because if you're the only one speaking and you've got kind of 3 classes back to back and every class is 2 hours, this means you're teaching 6 hours a day. 6 hours of speaking. Oh my God, only the teacher is speaking. You will probably have a sore throat. I mean, no doubt. Good. So let's move now to some arguments against, noisy classrooms. And I'm talking here about the positive noise, of course. So someone might ask, well, what would the students benefit from one another? They need to speak to me because I'm the best English speaker in the classroom. Well, part of this is true, which is the teacher is the best English speaker in the classroom, mostly, most of the time. This is a reality. But again, the second half of the question is not right at all. What would students benefit from one another? I mean, they would benefit a lot. I mean, number one, according to so many researches, when students talk to the teacher, they're anxious. Why? Especially because, for 2 reasons. Number one, they're speaking in front of everyone else. Because again, if you're speaking to the teacher, it means that this is plenary. So, I mean, everybody is watching. And when you feel that everybody is listening to your English and you know that your English is not perfect, so you feel, anxious because, oh my God, how would I look in front of my peers? And that's one reason. The other reason, because you know that the teacher is, his English is great, he's going to judge my English. And that's another reason why a lot of people are anxious when they speak to the teacher. And when you're anxious, actually, learning doesn't happen. And in other words, it would be really, really slow. So, but when you're comfortable, when you feel safe, you learn more and you produce more English. And this is a fact. So again, speaking, when students speak with each other, when they speak to one another, it's far better than when they speak to the teacher. So actually, it is untrue. It is a myth that speaking to the teacher is better than speaking to your friends in the classroom. Some other people would say, but how can I call myself a teacher when my students are speaking in my class? I've got to have things under control. And a lot of teachers think this way. And I just speak about the culture where I grew up. A lot of teachers thought the same when I was a secondary school student. For them, speaking in a classroom means that you're not controlling your class. And also a lot of supervisors in my country, and I heard a lot of comments from different teachers, and they say that a lot of supervisors, are a bit angry when they see students are speaking in their classes. And again, I'd say this has nothing to do with classroom management, okay? In English classes, students need to speak and they need to work together. And there is nothing against the teacher when this happens. On the contrary, it means that you're a good teacher. So please, if people are telling you that you're not controlling your class because students are speaking in English in it, tell them to shut up, because that's not a very good idea. What they're saying doesn't make sense, right? Another point here, and some teachers say, but wait a minute, how can I give instructions when the students are speaking? Or how can I present language? Well, I'd say that's a very good question here. And this, in these two situations, I'd say, especially when you're given an instruction, it's very important that you make sure that students are listening to you. And also when you're presenting language, you need to make sure that students are not busy speaking to one another and they're listening to you. But I'd say these are, given instructions, that would be for kind of 1 minute, okay, before every activity. So that's not much of your classroom. And again, presenting language. If you're following the communicative approach, that you would probably spend like 5 minutes maximum, okay, 5 minutes on presenting language in a classroom, because we don't like language presentations that take forever. So 5 minutes, it's okay. And again, during the 5 minutes, students might ask you questions, so there will be a kind of interaction between you and them. Yes, it is still plenary, it is still teacher-centered somehow, but students are asking you questions. I would say yeah, right? But generally speaking, saying that English classrooms should be quiet is absolutely wrong. Then let's think about people doing professional courses like CELTA, TEFL, CERT, and I'll take the CELTA as an example. If your classrooms are quiet, this would actually affect your assessment on courses like CELTA. For example, in the CELTA handbook, we can read this criterion, which is 4G, ensuring balance, variety, and a communicative focus in materials, tasks, and activities. Which means, hey, come on, variety, eh? And speaking all the time as a teacher, I don't call this variety. Also, balance. It's balance between input and output. Yes, you will give information to students. You need to give them also time to practice and work on their own. Okay, right. Another criteria, which is 4F, including interaction patterns appropriate for the materials and activities used in a lesson. And again, I know that on these professional courses, the books used are based on a communicative approach, most of them, right? So which means that communication is really important. So how do you get students to communicate if you want your classroom to be quiet? So again, one final say, English language classrooms should be noisy, positive noise, eh? Thank you very much for watching. And again, if you would like to contact me or get in touch and know more about our courses and the programs we offer, please have a look at the following list of links, okay? And feel free to contact me. Thank you so much. See you again. Bye-bye.